Welcome back. Election observers play a crucial role in ensuring the transparency, fairness, as well as credibility of electoral processes. Their presence helps to build trust as they independently assess whether the elections are conducted in line with local laws and international standards. They monitor key aspects such as voter registration, campaign activities, voting procedures, and vote counting, making sure that no irregularities go unnoticed. Today we'll be speaking with Tumelo Maxwell Mokoena, Head of Delegation and Executive Director of the African Center for Governance, about their upcoming election observation mission to Namibia, or rather the undergoing one currently, as well as the ACG EOM will be deploying a team of independent observers and experts to assess Namibia's general elections scheduled for November 27, 2024. Their role will be vital in ensuring that the democratic process is upheld, fostering a peaceful and transparent election environment. Tumelo, good evening and welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us here on the Daily Roundup.
Good evening, and good evening to your listeners.
Tumelo, to start with, tell us a bit more about the objectives and as well as the mandate of the ACG EOM in observing the Namibian elections.
So the mandate of the African Center for Governance Election Observation Mission, or rather the pre-election assessment mission, is to assess the extent to which Namibia is ready to conduct the election, is to assess the preparedness of state institutions that are key stakeholders to the election. For example, we have the IEC, which is a key stakeholder to the election. We have various institutions of justice. We have also civil society organizations. We have political parties and so forth, all key stakeholders to the election. We assess at this stage their preparedness, the state of preparedness to the election, and then we'll come up with a recommendation that will assist in intensifying the preparations to, in the run-up to the elections.
Mm-hmm. And what is the composition of the ACG EOM observation team? Tell us about the expertise that they bring to the table.
So it's composed of the head of mission, who is in charge with administration and the running of the program, and we have an election expert who's the key person of the mission in terms of guiding the mission in terms of its assessment of the process. We have a human rights expert who looks at the human rights issues. We have the media person who looks at the conduct of media, how is media been covering and stakeholders in the build up to the election. We have also a key person who's a political expert who understands the electoral political landscape and help the mission to analyze the political processes. So that's the key composition. It's a very small team, but with a team of experienced observers or experienced experts who have observed a number of elections across the continent.
Mm-hmm. You've been here since Sunday, but obviously started working officially on Monday. So talk to us about what your engagement plan encompassed between Monday and today, and of course for the rest of the week as well.
So what we did is, our first meeting, we paid a courtesy visit to the Ministry of Justice, just to announce our presence and also to understand their role in terms of access to justice in the time of election. We then met with the Ministry of International Relations, where we announced who we are and also to explain our mandate, because we introduced ourselves to state authorities who invited us. Then we made a visit to the Electoral Commission of Namibia, where we had a three-hour-long session where we understood the processes and their preparedness. We posed a lot of questions. We had a very robust discussion, which was quite constructive. Then we also paid a visit to the police, Namibian police. We had all the delegation, including we had officials joining online from various regions of the country. So we had a conversation to discuss the state of security in the build-up to the election, and also to understand the measures they are putting in place. And finally, we have been having civil society coming to our situation room, or our hub at Hilton Hotel, where we have interacted with academics, media ombudsmen, women groups, religious leaders, to understand the general feeling. Mm-hmm. What are the issues underpinning these elections? And also we spoke with political parties. We only met with one, and also to understand the themes that underlines this election, and also we asked about their manifestos, which are not yet out, and also we posed questions that it is in the interest of voters also to have manifestos come out early.
Tumelo, how does this mission that the ACG is currently undertaking, contribute to strengthening Namibia's reputation as a beacon of democracy within the region?
So as you may understand that most democracies are going under test, and Namibia is one democracy that is is undergoing through this test, and it has to pass this test. So you realize that there is a wave of political changes across the continent and so forth. So Namibia, it is looked up to as one of the democracies that has to remain stable in the region, because it is in the interest of SADC region that Namibia remains stable, because it could be a humanitarian crisis. The region is also facing a lot of crises, conflict from DRC, from Zimbabwe and other places that seems to have conflict and so forth. So it is in the interest of the region that Namibia remains stable and continues to support other democracies across the region.
How will the ACG Electoral Observer Mission, ensure the independence and impartiality of its observer mission? So
primarily, our observers are guided by code of conduct. In our work, we are very strict in a code of conduct. We respect the sovereignty of the host state. Our observers also are guided by the laws of the land. Then in our code of conduct, in our methodology, we stipulate how observation should be done. We are not monitors. Ours is to observe, engage with key electoral stakeholders. We observe and document and then recommend issues that we see arising for the purposes of developing future elections.
On the note of those recommendations, when would we be then able to expect, the preliminary statement coming from the ACG EOM, and as well, of course, the final report on the elections?
So when we meet stakeholders on a daily basis, we do drafting. So we hope that by the early next week, we have an initial report on this pre-election assessment mission, which we'll then share with you stakeholders, media, and Electoral Commission of Namibia, government, and all stakeholders, civil society. So we will release our statement very early, so that it's in the interests of the people of Namibia that our statement is released early, so that our recommendations could also contribute meaningfully to the preparations, so that the stakeholders could intensify their preparations.
Fantastic. Well, we do look forward to seeing that statement. Tumelo, that's all the time we have this evening, but thank you so much for joining us here this evening on the Daily Roundup.
Thank you so much for having us.
When we come back, we speak some health matters, but first, another break.